Hi, friends. I just thought I would put together just a small message to sum up as best I can at this moment the way I see and what my motivations are with this carving that I'm doing of the pumpkin and why I lightly refer to it as a cosmic interdimensional lantern of sorts. And although I stay light on the topic, it's a very serious motivation of mine, and I'm just thought while I was walking the dogs how I could kind of sum it up in a very simple form, not getting lost in little dendrites of obscurity. So, what I'm describing to get across what I'm doing and why I'm doing it with the pumpkin carving, it also does reflect on everything that I am and where I've come from, and you guys are all integrally a part of that. Every soul print experience throughout my life is a meeting of two souls. It's a sharing in of that soul with me, and then my work is to and has been to up level constantly and to keep vigilant, not at the cost of my stress levels in that sense, but not hyper vigilant, but just keep an awareness of how I adjust over the years to the new information, to the new contributions of my wonderful friends over the years. And that's why I believe I have so many powerfully beautiful friendships, and I'm so grateful for them. Uh, I can look back and I can feel and see the energy of these foldings and unfoldings and contributions and sharings, and this is all built like a fireball of creativity and beauty that I believe can burn and melt through any obstacle possible. So to the pumpkin carving and motivation, I don't want to get too much into history, which I'll deal with later. At some point, I need to do some really good research. And researching is not, well, researching is my forte. I do it all the time, but putting it together in a format that's understandable isn't something I've practiced. So it'll be something that I have to work at. So, based on history, you'll have to just trust me on that until I catch up with that. The what I perceive more as an interdimensional lantern um, that now has been kind of overlaid with such mundane um, beliefs and practices, such as the jack o' lantern, which is kind of cool. You know, it was the first step of my research that motivated me to do that first pumpkin carving. And what I found was to overlay something and to rework something, to hide something in obscurity, you have to have an element of the truth, or else it's just not going to work. So the potential and the power of this interdimensional lantern, practiced and acknowledged and used in many countries, many time periods, including China, Mexico to some degree. The Day of the Dead has been acknowledged and still is acknowledged as a powerful time where, quote unquote, the veils between the worlds are the thinnest. So there's this acknowledgement of that this time of year you can do certain work with this little bit more of a freedom to come and go, where other times that wall or veil or boundary is more blocked. So that could be external in the sense of someone that you love has left this earthly body, this earthly dimension, and you're working with that, with them, whether it's emotional healing for yourself, but also for them. Maybe they died in a traumatic motorcycle accident or something. This is a very good time for that kind of work, but it's also a very good time within yourself to work with those parts of yourself that perhaps need to let go, need to be let go of. They don't, once those habit patterns served you, perhaps, and now they don't, and you've acknowledged that, and you just want to find a way to gently let them go. These are all good reasons for working on yourself and others at this time of year. And then there are methods of working, and one of them that I'm really exploring is connected with the interdimensional lantern, as I call it. And I look at it as a me as an artist's interpretation on the one physical level uh, of this energy in physicality. So I can work on the physical with intention and ideally with heart connection to affect something that is on other levels that aren't visibly perceptible. That's really, in essence, the magic of art and creativity. That, like music, acting, painting, you name it, that creativity. That's why I believe it is so magical and so powerful. And if you look back in history, archaeologists, what are they finding most of the time to evaluate the past is creative projects done by people in that culture in that time period, whether it's pottery, knives, whatever might live on, quite often in out of stone, metal, and things like that that actually last, that we can see, but also in tattoos on, for example, the Iceman and many others, which revealed, in the case of the Iceman, revealed to people that the kind of Chinese medicine model, which is highly respected, was actually known and practiced back then. So it predated what we know as Chinese medicine in that time period. So we get a lot of information even from a tattoo and that practice from many perspectives. So going back to my energy ball pumpkin manifestation and the practices that have been done, and kind of why a pumpkin? Why such a odd little mundane looking vegetable? Why has it lasted, this practice, and where has it been taken from, and where is it going, and so on. So in essence, I have developed a sense connected to a reality that I believe in, I feel it, and I'm still trying to articulate and still trying to investigate to put it all together in a sort of an essay, but and research project. But in essence, that which you've already seen in some of my pumpkins, with the light on and the energy coming out and how it reflects and touches everything around in that room or on the walls, on the trees. It's a, look at it as an eye at the center of the field of all potentialities. It's pre-manifestation, this energy. It emits and emanates a vibration and an energy. In this case, the most visible aspect, or the visible aspect, is the light coming through the subtleties and the layers of the pumpkin, and how it's carved and how thin the flesh is. In certain areas lets more light through, and thicker doesn't, and so on. So you get this magical, wonderful thing. I moved away from the facial, scary face thing, which is more of a like a guard dog type of purpose. It's to scare away something, and that's where I found the overlay, the jack-o'-lantern. And really, in essence, Jack was some fictional character that made a deal with the devil, so he couldn't go to hell. That was the deal. But he also couldn't go to heaven because of this deal with the devil. And you can see, so he's a restless soul roaming the earth, trapped. And the jack-o'-lantern was to scare that soul away, that angry soul, away, to protect your family from this. It's a very fear-based limited perspective and insight kind of practice. So I felt that I needed to investigate and go in deeper. And that's what I'll reveal to you later on in my research, what my findings are and what motivated me to even start doing this pumpkin carving. But in essence, if you can imagine what I'm working on right now and my motivation behind it is creating this energy ball of this eye at the center of all manifestation before it manifests. So that potential energy of healing, I guess also of destruction, it's just sort of an all round. And that's why I've chosen the sacred geometry aspect to express, because I feel on one level, most obvious level to someone listening would be to harmonize this potential energy for good, for the best outcome, to keep negativity at bay, to bring in, to welcome in, while the veils are the thinnest, to welcome in the best for all of us, the greatest potential. As an individual, you focus on this as I'm working on it, or even better, do one of your own while I'm working on it. Either way, imagine that as I'm making this interdimensional cosmic lantern, if you will, that your focus, our focus, is melting away all faux, flat, trite manifestations and perspectives that just might be a safety, a position of safety to take a break in the mundanity of things, in that muddy murkiness of complacency, which I feel is a trap. You can rest for a moment, but don't rest for too long, or you become it. And so my motivation is to push through, to melt through all these traps. And I've become painfully aware of how these patterns constellate around each of our beings and us as a whole. This sense of entrapment, this frustration of kind of like walking through waist deep water and trying to move, and you just can't go that fast, and you feel held back and you aren't reaching your potential. All of this becomes normalized over time, and especially the more people that are stuck in it, the more normal it becomes. It's kind of like drinking alcohol. It's so socially acceptable that those who get caught up in a addictive pattern that doesn't serve them anymore, it's even more difficult to get out of, because no one sees it as the trap that it is, unless you reach those extreme proportions where it becomes obvious. So that's just an example. So imagine I'm creating this sacred geometry interdimensional lantern that I want to put light in, and I want to share it with the world. And yes, it's to enjoy for face value, but it's more than that. And I just want to ask people to just consider in some way how they can relate to what I'm saying and get some value out of this. Because really, in a lot of ways, it's a sum total of everything that I've experienced with all my clients, with my soul prints, with that magic that is more than the tattoo, the experience, that which many of my clients say that the tattoo is part of them rather than on them. That which makes that difference is what I'm working with. And it's also what I'm really grateful for with the last year that I've gone through. It's on a certain level, it's hell. Honestly, truly, it is the deepest hell I've ever been through. The darkest shadows I have to look at. And I had to be really hard on myself in a lot of ways, but also really gentle on myself, because it is just too easy for that being hard on yourself to become destructive unintentionally. So it was a real challenge in this last year. Not saying it stopped being, but it is also a phenomenal gift from Raven, from the universe, from myself, aspects of myself. And I found it was my job to find the gift in it and to not stay in that trap of victim, and defining myself and seeing myself as that, and of freeing myself from this once I did acknowledge and notice that. And this pumpkin embodies all of that experience, the good and the bad, for me, for everyone, everything you've gone through that's been hellish and phenomenal. Sometimes too phenomenal, and it becomes overloading and overstimulating, like all of it. That is what this energy ball represents. It's the first swirlings of an energy and an intention and a belief in yourself or other. So as you see my posts, just acknowledge my intentions and allow whatever to come through. And let's just see where this goes and what the finished product is going to become, because I really, each year I want to push it a little bit further. And I've looked at the pumpkin from last year, and I myself can see my limitations that I was struggling through in the pumpkin. I was in the cold, I was out in a barn, I didn't have a warm place. I was fighting frozen fingers, aching knuckles, and just the lack of good light. Everything was restricting me, but yet I pushed through it, and I'm really glad I did, because it was, in that case, the intention so important that I didn't quit, that I kept pushing through with all the challenges. And I think that's important for others as well. We'll have our difficult times, but difficult times, challenges do not mean that is us. And I found for me, it was important not to identify with these challenges and to avoid becoming that, and to move through it. And now I'm pushing past my limitations. At each moment I'm pushing past my limitations, but this is the time of year where I want to really take that in, and I want to sit with it and allow it and appreciate it and be thankful and grateful for this energy that is neither black nor white. The extremes that we are brought up to perceive in the world, it is a world of extremes and contrasts, but within the heart there is, look at it as a melting pot, where very alchemical in nature, where these swirlings come together and manifest that which we perceive as the future. And that's what I'm really doing right now. And when I use the term healing, that's really what I'm looking at and trying to describe, is a transmutation of our limitations, or our perceived limitations, and that trap that can be, and bringing that into a swirl, and bringing back life into an otherwise locked in energy that I want to free up. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what my pumpkin carving and the motivation behind it is. And hopefully that gives you just a little bit more ability to appreciate what I'm doing and why, and where this one is coming. So let's just see. I'm going to get back into work, and we'll see what today manifests for all of us.